and thank you for taking a listen to this week's episode of Secure Insights with NDK Cyber. Now, this week I'm very happy to be joined by Ankur Shah. Ankur is the co-founder of an organisation called Straiker. Now, Straiker focus on securing the world of AI. Not just from a chatbot perspective and sort of commands and prompts and things, but also looking at agentic AI. So the AI applications that will go and book your holidays, book your travel, book your appointments, and that's really the sort of the next layer of the movement in AI we're seeing. So we talk about agentic AI security, how security risks go further than just the prompt. We talk about skills needed in this area. We talk about the growth of the space, and really, we're probably at the tip of the iceberg here. So really good conversation. Really enjoyed it, and open to your thoughts and feedback as always. Cool. We are now live. Well, Ankur, thank you very much for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
Not at all, not at all. I would have done you an introduction, which the listeners would have heard there, but probably wouldn't have done it justice. So, for those that aren't familiar with yourself and your work, are you okay to run through a quick background of yourself and then we can get stuck in?
Yeah, for sure. Been a builder for last 25 years. Very early on in my career, when I came to US, I started a e-commerce company. This is when like Amazon was getting popularity, but this was more about sending gifts to folks back home.
Hmm.
Um, so that was like more of a labor of love. Didn't pay the bills, but super passionate about it. This is back in the days when the internet was starting to gain popularity. While I was working for another startup, doing engineering for mobile. Cisco acquired that company, so learned a ton over the next many years about business and how to go from zero to scale. And one thing led to the other. I spent the last 15 years in security, built SaaS security, cloud security, most recently, like about last 8 years. But a startup I was part of got acquired by Palo Alto and built out that CNAP cloud security stack. Four startups, four big companies, and kind of being a builder, every time there's a big tech shift, I'd like to start from scratch, build something from ground up. And AI, when ChatGPT moment happened, I mean, I knew that I gotta build something in this thing. This is going to be a game-changing technology, unlike anything I've seen. And that's why I started Striker about a year ago, to help enterprise move very, very quickly to AI without worrying about security and safety.
Awesome. It's a lot of history there that you've very, very concisely run through, I guess. And
Yeah.
very familiar with the stuff over at Palo and Prisma. And then, like you say, Striker, the last year or so, it seems to be a hell of a trajectory, secured funding, growing everywhere, products being released in a relatively short time span.
Yeah, for sure. What's happening is, with each technology trend, whether you go back, mobile, where I built product on mobile security, and SaaS and cloud, and now AI, the rate of technology adoption continues to shrink. So when I started cloud security stuff, that was like a decade after Amazon had launched EC2. So about 10 years ago, when I'd have customers where they are in the cloud journey, they were still early, but it was gaining popularity. But I've talked to 300 customers now, and when I talk about their AI journey, almost all of them have an AI project. All of this is to say that the name of the game now is to move very, very quickly,
Mm,
because the technology turns on a dime. The enterprise adoption happens much faster than it used to.
mm,
So you got to get the funding, build out the team, build a couple products. It used to be that you have time to until you find the product market fit to add another product.
mm,
But something I tell my team, like, go broad to go deep. Sometimes you have to experiment with multiple things to then figure out like where is the real PMF, and then go really deep. So yeah, super proud of what we've built and done in the last 1 year. But I am never happy, my friend. I'm always dissatisfied with our speed. There's always another gear, because in startups, as you know, the default is death. We're supposed to die, and every day we don't. That's good news. So how can we undie by going fast?
Like it, like it. Love the branding as well for anyone that's watching this on a video platform. It's a pretty cool look, I must say. So,
Yeah, thank you for that.
sorry, I was just going to say I was keen to get your take on the whole state of AI at the moment, and you mentioned there, yeah, Chat GPT came out, and that was kind of. I know AI has been around a longer time than this, but that was kind of, in my eyes, the world's awakening to what AI could be, which was like sort of, I don't know, level one, let's call it. And then more and more in the last 6 months or so, we're hearing terms like agentic AI and how that's knitting in and how that's really Chat GPT was the first bit, and now it's kicking off with this agentic stuff. So, I guess in your view, what are you seeing in terms of the state of AI at the moment in general?
Um, are you sure that your audience doesn't think that this is your and my agents not talking and not the real you and I? Like, how can they be sure?
You
I'm
know
just,
what? If there was an agent talking on behalf of me, I'd fill in a bit more hair on top, maybe add a bit more height, something like that. But yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
it's
look, it's
cool.
a bit of a tongue in cheek. And the reason why I say that is that if you were to believe in everything that's out there right now, like humans are already irrelevant and our agents are working on our behalf, it's an amazing new thing that's happening. But I'll tell you what I'm learning from customers very quickly. So, there was sort of the initial wave of AI adoption was like building a chatbot, coding co-pilots as a force multiplier, really legitimate use cases where customers were seeing like productivity improvement on one end, and with chatbots like reduction in the cost. So that was really well done. And by and large, if you talk to clients, that's the phase they are in.
Mm,
They're dabbling with a coding copilot, a Microsoft Copilot for productivity. They're building their own applications using large language models to build a chatbot to reduce cost. But to your point, what's happening in the last 6 months is that okay, well, what's the next evolution of that? Can these things even get stuff done?
mm,
Um, right now, to be honest, there's like less than 1% of the customers we've talked to, maybe more like 0.1. That's at the tip of the sphere who have really legitimate agents right now. And
oh,
let's define what agents are. So when we
mm,
talk about agents, you know, um, this is not about making an API inference call to do a specific task and having agent get that task done.
mm,
When we talk about an AI native, agentic native application, that means if you want to book a travel, you will give the LLMs access to your bookings.com or Expedia account. You will give access to your own um, HR system where it knows like where your pay and leaves and all of that stuff is. And then based on that, it'll figure out your vacation plan with just LLMs and tools. There is literally no business logic
mm,
beyond that. And you get the LLMs, you give it the goals, etc. Very few customers are in the phase where they are starting with that as the very basis and foundation of building an application, which is like agentic native, etc. But what I believe is that it's very clear to me, and we can spend a little bit more time on that, is that that's where really the future is,
mm,
where my travel website in my business context or travel portal is connecting that agent is connecting with the bookings.com agent, which is also connecting with my banking agent, which has my bank balance, etc. So these agent to agent communication
mm,
is what appears to be the future. I
mm,
think time will tell when it'll play out because these systems are non-deterministic. So in our own internal experimentation, like building simple stuff, sometimes it just doesn't get the job done.
mm,
Then you start writing if-else workflow. But well, if you have to write that, then you're not building in a truly agentic system. If you
mm,
have to have business logic coded, hardwired, that's not a true multi-step agentic systems.
mm.
So a lot to unpack there. Happy to deep dive into it, but it's going to be an incredible future where um, these agents talk to each other. And like I said, and I went social on this. I said SaaS is dead, and agentic application is the future, and we can certainly unpack more and more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for my personal curiosity, if nothing else, I guess. But I was just thinking, would it be, that say those points there, the travel agent, the banking agent, and sort of personal HR systems, would they all have to have sort of agentic AI to a certain level? You couldn't have kind of like a weak link in the chain, or would you have like a central agentic AI? Forgive me, I'm not too up on this, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, the way these systems will work is let's just say whether it's your CRM system or your your travel expense management tool, which is what we're talking about. It itself has a bookings agent that will allow employees to book their travel to whatever places. Um, that agent's business logic will be mostly LLM, which is to say it's not even business logic. There'll be employee specific goals and tasks given, like, hey, if you're in sales, you are allowed to spend $1,000 a month, whatever, $10,000 a month, find the lowest fares, etc. The agent is wired in English, not using programming language to have those rules and systems in place. Okay. Then the human will say, okay, well, I got to go from San Francisco to London for a 3-day trip, blah, blah, blah. It'll then look at your HR systems and say, do you have enough leave? If this was not a business trip but a personal trip, it'll talk to, many other systems. And when I say systems, traditionally it was an API call. The booking system has to talk to Priceline's API or Expedia or Hotels.com APIs. The problem with that world in the SaaS was like everybody has to maintain API compatibility and all of that stuff. Well, instead, what's going to happen is Priceline will have its own agent, and Booking.com will have its own agent, Hotel.com, and these agents will talk to each other. So these things are just tools, and they're talking to each other, for a lack of a better word, in English. Again, there's an MCP protocol and all that stuff, but it ultimately, given a task, it'll find those agents, discover them, talk to them, and get the job done for you. So that makes the power of this and the beauty of this is that the agent development itself gets much simpler now. So you can rapidly iterate and build that whole client server contract using API compatibility. You don't have to do any of that stuff. And the consumption of this agent is also super simple now. I don't have to click, clack, UI elements, etc. I give a goal, it gets it done. So the way I frame it is that both builders and consumer of software will just be able to use English to build and consume applications. English, or pick your favorite language.
Certainly. But I guess that's a really good way of terming it, just using it non-technically. And gotta say, very excited. Booking travel, this example alone, nightmare for myself. The wife is very good; she does it all, and I can't thank her enough for that. But so excited for all that coming through. But I gather with that, there's security elements and risks we have to be mindful of. So I guess moving to that future where it is very agentic orientated, what are we going to be mindful of here? What are we looking out for as okay, this is cool,
Yeah.
let's secure it.
Yeah, so it's a great question. Just taking a step back, right? The world of agentic applications fundamentally changes the entire app stack, how people build apps and consume app. A lot of the security is built around traditional application, web application security, traditional application security type of concepts. The consuming part of the thing also has a very traditional notions. The change in the stack is now you have a completely new sort of the model layer, you have a new data layer, you have a new identity layer, you have a new web application front end. In the applications business, there was never a unstructured request response paradigm. Typically, if you want to book a travel, find flights, uh, you know, book a specific itinerary that you like, etc. Very structured request response paradigm. Now we're talking very unstructured request response. All of this is to say the entire app stack, agentic stack is changing. And therefore, the security paradigm has to be thought differently. And the reason for that is that you are in an agentic application, you are prone to, because it's using large language model, things that is generally well understood, like LLM evasion attack, prompt injection attack. Hey, instead of hooking into James's bank account to find the balance, hook into my bank account. That's called tool manipulation. Prompt injection led to tool manipulation. Instead of asking it to call a specific tool, call another tool. For example, you have a harmful content generation problems where it can do something really nefarious. And worst case scenario where these agents have read-write access to your system of record, your databases, because once something is done, your system of record is where you commit this Can you get the agents to do a select star dot star from your database, or RM minus RF from all your system? Do a supply chain attack at scale? All of this is to say that the nature of the problems like data leakage, data exfiltration, supply chain attack, etc., are the same, but it's an identity problem, but they're likely to happen at scale. And the reason why it's going to likely to happen at scale is that these agents are autonomous. Initially, we'll build systems where there is a human in the loop, but ultimately the human that is in the loop that's clicking on the approve button is not going to have a job, right? What needs to be automated will get automated. And as a result of that, you are prone to all of these different sets of security challenges that the security teams um, have to really think about it. The last thing I'll say is that, and we've been doing this for a while, working with a lot of customers, you can only secure AI with AI. And not only is this just a sort of a nice marketing line, but it's true. The way I detect a tool manipulation or a leakage or an exfiltration or a supply chain attack is by building good AI models, which is a big part of what Stryker does. And when I ought to think about it, it has to be fine-tuned on the right data sets to ultimately be the good AI if somebody were to take advantage of the AI that or agents that customers have built and get it to do nefarious things.
Wow. Okay. I was going to ask you around this whole, this AI beast that's coming at the bad actors. How do we defend against that? And it's with AI. So, is it sort of AI tooling, or is it bringing in different skill sets? Clearly, you
Yeah,
have
good
a
question.
presence in this space, but yeah, it's keen to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think just the first part, right? Like, hey, like what are the challenges we have seen so far, right? Like, so there's a dedicated website called incidentdatabase.ai that captures all AI related, agentic related incidents so far.
Okay, cool.
Have there been mass supply chain attack, ransomware attack, data exfil? Not yet, right? Like a lot of what we see right now is your AI chatbot just doing silly things. There have been multiple examples of that. Gartner said like about 73% of the enterprises who are using AI have seen one or the other incidents.
Mm.
Are they code red tier one incidents? Barring a few exceptions, not yet. And the reason for that is just we're in the early days. Customers haven't built an at scale application that multiple users, good ones as well as bad ones, are using. So that's sort of one thing.
Mm.
I think the second piece of the, really the question is, um, the tooling and training itself. So I saw this movie play out like last decade when we created cloud security back in my startup days, CSPM and all that stuff. There was no cloud security budget. There was no cloud security persona.
Mm.
The skill set that were required back then were like, hey, do you understand Terraform and CloudFormation templates and immutable infrastructure and containers and CI/CD pipeline? A development team clearly understood that, but security team had to ramp up very quickly. So a
Mm.
new persona was created where these people were cloud first. They understood cloud, but they were trained on security, misconfiguration, and vulnerabilities in container images, and cloud detection and response, and cloud identities, KIM. Like
Mm.
how can you over provision identities in the cloud, etc. New persona. So fast forward to today. Now organizations are well familiar with cloud. They're still learning. It's still moving.
Mm.
But look, back in the days, cloud providers announced four things a year. So, these practitioners, including the builders like ourselves, had to keep up with the announcements four times a year. In AI age, shit's happening every day. Like, I
Mm.
mean, I blink. By the time we get done with this conversation, some new things probably gone down. So what can the enterprises do? I think the first thing is that, yeah, you have to upscale. You have to find AI native people. If you look at Stryker right now, I'm a senior citizen in Stryker. And I
Mm.
mean this candidly. I don't know anybody who is in our HQ office. I could hire 100 people, but they're all new people,
Mm.
all very young people. AI native. My product guy feeds PRD into Claude to generate design artifacts.
Okay.
Now we're building pipeline from design artifact to UI.
Mm.
People who don't even know what the pre-AI looks like. Our development team, as we have senior people, but there's some young people, they don't even know anything beyond Cursor. They start with Cursor. They start with English as a programming language. Customers have to do the same thing. REI native people or upskill the existing talent so that they can quickly understand how to take advantage of this, then infuse security training, which there's hundreds of thousands of security professionals, but I think that's the skill that is really required. And there, look, I mean, the last thing is, as deeplearning.ai is a tremendous resource. There's a lot of really good coursework. Google, Amazon provides free coursework.
Mm.
Um, we just have to keep learning. There's no shortcuts.
No, I was going to ask you later on actually around this, but since we're on the topic, we get that question as a recruitment company quite a lot of, I'm maybe I don't know, someone's nephew or son or daughter is, thinking about college, thinking about university. Cybersecurity's big, but they're also pretty, handy with development tools and things. Do I need to learn about AI, LLM, data? Is that worth it? Is it going to be good? And the advice we tend to give is yeah, but it's kind of a I think it's still growing, it's still learning. But yeah, like you say, if you're hiring people that are AI native first and then learning security on top, that sounds like a wise way to go for those coming through the ranks.
Yeah, 100%. The good news is that as the technology and abstraction and software stack keeps getting better, like that's what's happening right now. If you look at like last 20 years of 30 years of software, we have added more and more level of abstraction to make it easy for people to build and consume software. AI adds one more level of abstraction, which is, like I said, English. So anybody can be a builder now. I mean, we're going to see an explosion of applications. So this is not a good, data science and machine learning used to be relegated to a small group of people, pre-LLM. Thanks to OpenAI and other teams, so they're making a lot of investment, but anybody can learn Python coding. As a matter of fact, like I'm brushing up on my Python skill as my son is learning Python. I'm like, I got to do better than him. So I had to download Cursor. I'm using Replit on as much time as I can get. So I think it feels overwhelming. It feels like you're doing a lot of stuff. But my quick guidance, and I get one call a week on like, how do I learn this? I'm like, build something useful. Let's start there.
Mm.
Build something useful that 100 people will use, right? Like just, it doesn't need to be a million people. That's how you learn how to, first principles, how to build app in the modern era. And it makes it easy now. Everything is so easy. Once you do that, then you understand the security paradigm. Then, whether you're thinking yourself, looking at OWASP, LLM top 10, reading Straiker blog or any other blog, there's a ton of material available. But it starts with like building foundation. You have to understand how these apps are constructed. What is RAG? How do I build a RAG facing application, etc.? How does multi-agentic LLM look like? Um, that's where I would start. Training resources are available. We just have to have the desire to learn. And again, I don't want to sound preachy. I think customers are very smart about it. I think everybody's learning. But I think the future is going to be incredible. I think we'll have more people building and consuming apps than ever before.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. And like you said earlier, it's like, well, by the time we're done with this conversation, there'll be some new thing announced out, whatever it is, funding, growth, I don't know. But it certainly really feels that way, and especially with the news feeds we get here. And you touched on it earlier as well, using that cloud piece as an example. And that really rings true with me of going back, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years, showing my age a little bit now. Cloud was very much the new thing, but cloud security came sort of 2 or 3 years later. It kind of feels like that now with businesses trying to bring everything into AI. We've got a new AI this, a new AI that, and it's coming through, but we're not, I'd say we're just seeing a few sort of AI security orientated roles. So I guess with all this in mind, who is the AI security solutions and skill sets important for? It's everybody, right?
I think it is everybody. What I'm seeing in the early days is, and again, this could be a function of the people we work with, but a lot of the application security, product security people are transitioning into sort of that AI security role because as customers are building the application, the CISO and the head of AI is like, okay, well, now you got to secure this new thing as well. But they're like, well, I'm dealing with like 50,000
Mm.
vulnerabilities already. I got to do this new thing. Yeah, you got to do this new thing. Oh, well, can I get a new headcount? Oh, hello, AI, you're supposed to make do with fewer people, not more people, right? Like, so, I mean, look, I feel the pain that a lot of our customers um, go through in this transition. Exactly to your point, there's a new thing that happened. Security is kind of left behind. Um, but the best way, I think, is that for product security people or the rest of the stuff, like it doesn't need to be a monopoly of a single group, needs to start learning about how these applications are built. The skill that is rare that our security friends have is sort of really understanding the attack vector very deeply.
Mm.
Yes, there is a newness to this. That's a rare skill. AI cannot just solve it. Like there's a ton of knowledge. I just came off of RSA last week. We are a community. We're all learning from each other, right? Not the builder and the client side. But that's how I would start. Put them through training if that's what's required, whether it's a Bedrock Learning or Azure Agent Hub, and apply those same security principles in this new world order. Learn as fast as
Okay.
possible.
So it's not so much like an awareness problem of, no, we don't need to secure AI. We're okay, you know?
Oh, I don't think so. I think there is a deep awareness within the CISO community as well as head of AI. What I've been really encouraged is that when we talk to the head of AI teams as well, when we talk about injection, data leak, especially with the RAG system, agentic tool manipulation, they just get it. So
Mm.
there's not I come from a world where there's traditionally a lot of friction between the security and the app dev team. They're like just annoying sometimes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
our best meetings are the one where they are all on the same call. And a big part of our mission is that like we feel like we're the bridge builders. What you see on our website, the first persona you see is Anna. Anna is the AppSec persona. She's looking at this, brave new world, future with AI, and our job. And yeah, there's some trouble ahead of her, but
Mm.
we want to be that sort of guardian, the guiding light to get her to that new world order. So it's a big part of our mission to bridge the gap between the two. Can be achieved, but it's a traditional organization, people, process challenge that one must overcome.
Again, it takes time, and from what I've gathered today and looking around, is that the attack surface extends far beyond the sort of the model
Yes.
simplicity and the types of threats that each layer presents is.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, what we saw in like last couple of years is that a lot of people were talking about model security and prompt related security, but our point of view, and we're all learning as well, is that this goes way beyond kind of prompt because you have all layers of an agentic stack that you ought to look at it. Fundamental architectures have to be different on how you collect the data, how you apply the detection and blocking technology. Is so very different from just looking at like prompts. Prompts are important, but the attackers are not just going to capitalize on that. They're going to manipulate. They're going to plant a bug in the reasoning process of the AI to get it to do things it was not wired to do. So yeah, I think taking a look at the entire layer holistically, identity, data, model, web application layer, user layer is going to be super important in this new world order.
Awesome. And the people you speak to, like customers or potential customers, are they aware of looking at each of these layers, or is it sort of a.
Great question. The awareness right now is in sort of two main areas. So, the injection attack or what we call LLM evasions, it's very well understood because it's large language model, so you can evade all those things. The second thing there is a general awareness is that because data is the fuel that powers AI engine, enterprise data is going to go into AI, so they're worried about PII coming in and out of the AI. So I think there's a generally good awareness. On the third thing, safety, right? Like we're working with several customers where we're seeing all transactions going back and forth between their AI. They're worried about harmful content,
Hmm.
buy a weapon and racist, sexist content, etc. So those are the three things that are generally well understood. Everything beyond that, it's wild, wild west.
Hmm.
They understand that, hey, look, if my employees download an MCP server from our Rogue stuff, oh, that's problematic. Um, yes, these agents can be wired to do something completely. They understand it, but it's early days. They're
Hmm.
they're all learning along with us. And one thing that you mentioned about attack surface, I think at a high level, look, I mean, what we believe at Stryker is that fundamentally all aspects of security category, whether it's AppSec, zero trust, identity, EDR, XDR, that's all going to go through a fundamental shift.
Hmm.
There's going to be new sets of technologies that is required to protect against those threat vectors.
And this is a really broad question, but timelines on this, not exact years or months even, but it seems like it's imminent. It's going to happen very, very soon as opposed to 5, 10 years down the line.
You mean the attacks or the agentic development or both?
So, well, I guess both, yeah. to
Yeah.
the advancements in EDR, for example, and everything else that goes with it, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, you know, certainly I don't have, this is the hardest thing about technology where you can't predict the future. You can tell kind of directionally where things are headed.
Mm.
So on the development itself, like, hey, do I see a sales agent instead of a traditional CRM 1 year from now, 2 years from now, or 5 years from now? Nobody knows, right? I
Mm.
think there's going to be that middle of the pack world because the world doesn't change as quickly as the technologies like us like to think, right? But it's going to happen fast, right? Like it's within a few years. And I don't like to go into sort of the AGI kind of debate, like, hey, build something useful that's leaps and bound ahead of what is today. Like, who cares if it is AGI? Right now, the chat GPT, like O3 seems like AGI to me. Like it seems wild, like the kind of stuff we're able to do. But I think that's coming. The security incidents, that's happening now. Like that's something we need to start worrying about um, immediately and have guardrails in place. I prefer that we don't get into a situation like we did in cloud, where the average customer I talked to had like 1,000 workloads in cloud and like 100 misconfiguration and 1,000 vulnerabilities already. So they're already taken on technical debt before things go. So can we just start right now, make sure we secure these systems from the get-go? Because it's just a matter of time. The way I like to frame is if the why would a bad actor use complicated reconnaissance and all of the techniques when they can use English to breach the system?
Mm.
So we got to have guards against that now.
Crikey, that was a hell of a tagline, yeah. Okay, I mean, we've darted around a lot here, and that's largely due to myself. And I've learned a lot, and also been a bit, maybe terrified at the same time, which has been nice. But the future in this space, I guess, next 6 to 12 months, what are you looking forward to? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about really working with clients who have built truly multi-step agentic application where humans give a task or a goal and it just gets it done. It's in production. It's delivering value. I think it's going to happen this year. It's not going to be pervasive, but we're going to see a lot of customers go there. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about automating a lot of stuff that we do. I mean, my least favorite thing running a company is to pay all the bills. I'd like not to pay it, but at a minimum, I'd like to not spend time on paying all the bills and expense reports and all of that stuff. Like, how can my expense management system have an agent where, I mean, by and large, I'm just clicking approve button. I apply some Ankur reasoning
Mm.
before like it can all be automated through agents. So I'm excited about automating myself out of the job, ideally.
Yeah.
So I can hopefully focus on some other things. Maybe not out of the job, but doing the ops job. So I'm excited about that type of stuff. I'm excited about being able to build product capabilities based on customer requests. So customers just say what they want, and from there to a shipping code, how can we shrink that timeline very quickly?
Mm.
Because from what they said to the UI artifact to the UX artifact to the UI and the backend code, how can that pipeline be automated? So instead of getting it done in 2 weeks, how can we do it in hours? Is it possible? So I'm
Mm.
excited about that. It's not going to happen all the way, but some portion of that is going to be happening. And look, I'm really excited about securing the future so that customers can focus on imagining it.
Mm.
So really, I'm a I'm an AI optimist. So I can't wait to see what the frontier labs have to have in store.
That's awesome. There's a lot in the pipe and a lot going on now. So you're in the right space. Sounds very exciting. If people wanted to get in touch, we'll chuck a LinkedIn profile link below and things. Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining. It's been awesome, and best of luck with everything that's going on.
Great. Thanks for having me, James.